This is your Barbados Today Morning News Update for Tuesday, June 25th, 2019. Thanks for joining us. I'm Carol Williams. The days of accused persons spending an inordinate number of time in prison may soon be over. Attorney General Dale Marshall says work is being done on criminal procedure rules to prevent such recurrences. The matter came to public attention after a 50-year-old man charged for theft of a handbag and its contents spent 7 years in HMP Dodds without attending a court hearing. The Attorney General described the situation as an anomaly and an embarrassment for the country.
Often people will apply for bail, and then when they get when they get to court, they say to the judge, "Well, sir, I really didn't want bail. I just wanted an opportunity to come to court to plead guilty." But that is not a feature of our system. So the only way it could get to you, judge, is to say, I want bail," when they really don't want bail. We are now considering the passing of criminal procedure rules, which will help to codify all of the arrangements that have to be made in respect of those things. I expect to be able to move cabinet within the next few weeks and seek their permission to put rules in place. We already have some draft rules under consideration, but I think that piece by piece we're going to get all these things right. When we add new criminal procedure rules to additional high court judges and all those kinds of things, it's a slow process, but I think we're moving in the right direction.
Meantime, the Attorney General says Barbados is pushing to begin talks early next month on selling the majority of its shares in LIAT, but a date hasn't been confirmed. Marshall says the government is awaiting word from officials at the Antigua-based regional carrier on when those negotiations can begin.
We're now trying to see if we can get those negotiations commenced next week. We've sent another communication to LIAT to say that we're available next weekend, and can jump right into it. And we're once more waiting for them to respond to say whether it can be accommodated or not. But we're hoping that before the Heads Conference, 3rd to 6th of July, that the negotiations will have begun in earnest.
There's fresh warning today about individuals engaging in the so-called suitcase trade of some medical cannabis items. Former president of the Barbados Pharmaceutical Society, Paul Gibson, continues to slam the practice as dangerous and is calling on the Ministry of Health to ensure proper policing of cannabis-based products entering the country.
I want to warn Barbadians of something. Everybody is starting to bring in these oils illegally or illicitly through different ports of entry. Suitcase trade, post offices, and so on. Now, how do you know that the content in those brown bottles are what they say they are? You have absolutely no way of knowing that somebody didn't go on a high quality computer, printed a label, stuck it on a bottle of water and send it here to you. You really don't know, because there's no quantifiable way of doing it. And this is why the government of Barbados, through the Formula Committee, is taking particular steps to make sure that the medicines that are the 5 medicines that have been approved are approved by authorities where these products have been tested, they've been used, they've been engaged by pharmacopoeias and the FDA in certain contexts, the Canadian compendiums and so on, and they use science in order to choose and select only for Barbadians which products would be made available here.
And as Barbados edges towards the introduction of a medical cannabis industry, a coalition has been formed primarily to educate residents about the dangers of marijuana use. But they aren't against using cannabis for medical purposes, but rather for recreation. One of the members is former Detective Valman Thompson, who's not only calling for the police to do more stop and search operations, including in certain communities, but he pointed to the negative effects of the recreational drug.
I'm not saying that we gotta go so far as bringing in soldiers to help us, but I'm saying if we need to, we should. But I think it's time for the police force to step up and do more stop and searches and go into those areas where we see that there's a height and use of these marijuana drugs in Barbados. I'm telling you, when you look at the personnel that using it, not as the pharmacist said, they are very slow. They move, they're just so caught up with it, right? And you see the slowness they're moving. it really has a dampened effect on their body, how they react to people.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
In Bermuda, the Family Center is asking the authorities for assurances that the community will be protected from a serious sex offender. The man was released from a correctional facility without an electronic monitoring device. He claimed the device causes him pain and interferes with his medication, as we hear in this report from the Bermuda Broadcasting News.
A Supreme Court justice, the subject of mockery online this week after a convicted sex offender was granted release from prison without a monitoring device. Junior's Carmen Keynes was described as Attorney General Kathy Lynn Simmons in a public notice issued as considered to present a risk of significant harm. Martha Dismond, Executive Director of the Family Center, who happened to be in the courtroom for another matter when the ruling was handed down, tells us her thoughts at the time.
The concern I had sitting there and listening was that he did have a concern about the radiation from the electronic device, as well as he said he was on medication and that it would make him extraordinarily sick.
As part of a 5-year supervision order, Keynes is required by law to wear an EMD. But now, Justice Charles Etta Simmons says he will go without one for at least another month. Ms. Dismont, though, believes the story isn't black and white.
I appreciate what the judge was attempting to do, because he pleaded, quite honestly, to not have the electronic device on and said that he will be where he needs to be and therefore won't need it. But please do not put it on me, because I'm afraid about getting sick. Therefore, what do we do as the public? And I think the public needs to be assured that he will be monitored.
And finally, the Philippines is struggling to control the use of plastic packaging that only gets used once. It's estimated more than 160 million bits of plastic waste wash up on the riverbanks and coastlines every day. Now, activists have developed a constructive way to tackle the problem. Al Jazeera reports.
For the last 2 years, these students have been collecting rubbish every day. It's helped clean up the campus and helped build some of its facilities. For every 2 kilos of plastic waste they collect, the school receives a brick made of plastic and cement. And the school canteen's been built with them. The school's watch tower was built with the same bricks too.
This is a solution for the environmental problem, because we are diverting wastes away from the landfill. So we are in effect an alternative to dump sites to landfill.
Some of the bricks are designed to allow rainwater to seep through, and that helps stop the streets flooding.
For some activists, this may not be the most ecological way to eliminate the problems of plastic, but this is seen as an immediate solution to the growing problems of landfills across the country. Waste can now be used to manufacture building materials.
And that's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook. And sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM. I'm Carol Williams. Have a good day.